My grandfather married an art teacher out at the university in Tulsa, and she wanted a place for a art colony.
The Illinois is winding, and the Ozark Hills look down. Proudly stands our dear old gypsy, our nation's wide renown. We have often sung her praises, but I want to go back to Arkansas, to dear old Gypsy Camp. Back to all the friends I made, back to the honors our vow and get. I want to go back to Arkansas, to dear old Gypsy Camp. I want to go back to Gypsy Camp. Oh, Father and Mother, pay all the bills.
It's family first, and this was second for me. It wasn't school. It wasn't some group I was involved in. It wasn't church, sorry. It was Gypsy Camp. This was my second home and family. Bob and Daisy raised me as much as just second to my parents and stuff and family. And I'd say that was the number one thing. Anything good I have comes from my parents and Gypsy Camp.
I want to go back to Arkansas, to dear old Gypsy Camp. Back to all the friends I made, back to the honors our vow and get. I want to go back to Arkansas, to dear old Gypsy Camp. I want to go back to Gypsy Camp. Oh, Father and Mother, pay all the bills and we have all the fun. The friends who are we have camp life, hooray, hooray. You have to do an awful lot to see what we have done, to count the landmarks we have won at Gypsy Camp. Hey!
Hello to all my gypsies. Many of you have already know me, and some of you have heard of the gypsy spirit, but have never really seen her. I am the spirit of the gypsies. Maybe I'm just part fairy tale, but nevertheless I'm a gypsy, and I love my clans. Each year I appear at the first campfire to bring you all a hearty welcome. We hope you will live joyously here, and that you will explore the hills and the river, and that you will learn to make a lot of things that will bring you happiness in the making and in the doing. We hope you will make new friendships and cement old ones, that our good times will mean a lasting enjoyment and happy memories. Gypsy Camp welcomes you.
Where the Illinois is winding, and the Ozark Hills look down. Proudly stands our dear old gypsy, our nation's wide renown. We have often sung her praises, but the half has not been said. So here's a toast to dear old gypsy, to the orange and the red.
My grandfather married an art teacher out at the university in Tulsa, and she wanted a place for a art colony. So she came up here. My grandfather brought her up here to look at this place because his boys had told her about this pretty place up here because they fished up and down the river. And so they came up and looked at it. The people that owned it lived across the highway over there, and they bought it that night before they left. She liked it so well.
Gypsy Camp was a thematic summer camp for girls that ran between 1921 and 1978 and is located right outside of Siloam Springs, Arkansas on the Illinois River. Today, the camp is still home to the current owner, Bob Coe, and Bob's grandmother, Weezy McAllister, was an art teacher at the University of Tulsa. And during the summer months, she would go over to Europe, and while she was over in Europe, she got to meet and learn about some of the gypsies that were over there, and she brought that interest back with her, and she wanted to start an art camp. And so that interest of the gypsies that she got over in Europe, she brought back with her, and that was kind of the inspiration behind the name Gypsy Camp. And on this 65-acre plot of land There are 10 rustic wooden cabins that still stand. They're still in original condition and contain many of the original bunk beds and different types of furniture that were in these buildings.
Well, the ones where the big girls stayed was named Vagabond and Romney and Vagabond. And then the other big girls' cabin was Gypsy and Upper Gypsy. And then they had their own bathhouse over there. And then the little girls on this side of the hill, they stayed in Rover's Rest, Upper and Lower Rover's Rest, and Angel's Alley and Devil's Den. Their mothers always told them, now take plenty of white shoe polish so you can write your name on the wall of the cabin where you stay. So all the walls are covered with names and dates of when they were, what year they were here and everything.
Coming into camp, there were one of two clans that the girls would be initiated into. There was the Kalos and the Ziggins, or as they are more commonly known as the Oranges and the Reds. Every new camper would have to go through the initiation process, and they would draw a ribbon out of a basket, and they drew red or orange. That was the clan that they were into for life. Within each clan, there was a royal family that consisted of a junior and senior princess and then a queen.
And those were people that you admired and respected and you so wanted to be like, and you just looked at them like, you know, they were somebody that you dreamed one day that you'd be able to wear a circle of flowers around your hair and dance around the campfire and be in all the pictures as part of the royalty. And to become a queen of the clan, you had to be respected by your peers, but you also had to be a high point earner, and it was almost a little bit like tenure. If you were tenured and you had been here for quite a long time and you just performed as a camper and your peers, you know, nominated you, and then when you got elected, it was a very big deal here at Gypsy Camp.
There were two clans, the two Gypsy clans. There was the Red Clan, which you can see I am a member of, and then there was the other clan, the Orange Clan. And we competed for the whole month that we were here. We were on a point system, and we earned points. You got a point for, you know, making your bed. You got a point for taking a swimming lesson. You got a point for doing all sorts of things that you would do otherwise. But at the end of the session, the clan that had the most points won. So it was a big emotional thing, and the losers all cried and consoled each other, and the winners were yay! So it was a really big deal, and it was a very friendly competition. There wasn't anything, you know, mean-spirited. There was nothing mean-spirited at the camp at all.
You just love everybody, but when it came to competitions, we rooted for our clan. And when our clan lost, we cried, and everybody, no, it's competition to win, but it's not the kind of competition where you say afterwards, I won. You just win, and that's fine. But yes, everything was competition. The whole camp was based on whether reds or oranges win, and you won by having the most points. You got points for doing just about anything. And whichever clan got the most points, that's who won.
So both clans had very similar daily schedules. They would all take part in the same types of activities. They just wouldn't all do them at the exact same time. They would get to split off and do activities at different times.
They had everything here. They had horseback and crafts and dancing. They had real good instructors, and they had a good dancing program. Though there's a picture of the dancers there, and they're in crafts and the horseback and the tennis and the archery and the swimming and life saving and all that. They had it all.
The daily routine at Gypsy Camp, I mean, you got up and you knew exactly where you were supposed to be every minute of the day. So, you know, it would start out with breakfast. Every meal started with us singing our cabin songs. Then we went through the line, got our breakfast food. And then right after that, it was cleaning up the cabins.
You had chores in your cabin. Usually each cabin had a wheel with the girls' names written on it. and that many chores, and it would, you know, you'd turn it each day. So each day you had a different chore. If it was to sweep, it was to take out the trash. If it was to check, be sure all the beds were made, you know, whatever.
Then we had calisthenics, which were always fun. And then we had classes. We had 4 classes a day. We had an hour of tennis, an hour of crafts, an hour of dancing, and an hour of swimming. And then we could also go horseback riding some other times if we wanted to do that. And then we had lunch, and then we had rest period. And everybody always slept because we were all exhausted.
But after nap time, the gong would ring, and everybody would tear out of their cabin as fast as they could, and they'd run and they'd line up here because we could buy candy.
And then when that was all done, we all went swimming. Free swim in the afternoon, and a lot of people washed their hair in the river, laid around in the sun, and then suddenly it was dinner time, and then, you know, it just, same thing every day. It was wonderful.
Well, Tuesday night was the big night to go into town. We'd all dress up. It was the only time we brought a dress, and it was the only time we wore the dress was into town. And Bob had a friend that had a big cattle truck, and we would all pile into the cattle truck, all standing up, and we would sing all the way there. And it seemed like Siloam Springs was at least 4 hours away, but obviously it was not. And the big thing was on Tuesday nights we went to the theater, went to the movie theater there. But you know, we'd go early. The big thing was to go into the drugstore and get a fountain drink and buy candy. And we had secret pals. The first week of the session, you drew the name of another camper, and then you gave them, you know, presents. And then I don't remember what it was. 2 or 3 weeks later, you revealed who it was. So you would go in there and you'd buy something for your secret pal, and hopefully your secret pal's not watching you buy that. So anyway, so we did that and pretty much terrorized the town, and then we went to the movie, got back in the cattle truck, and again sang songs all the way back to the camp. So it was something everybody looked forward to.
One of the biggest traditions at Gypsy Camp was the weekly campfire programs, where the girls would get to sit around the campfire and dance and just all come together and have a really good time. Around 1960, the circular fire pit constructed by Bob's great uncle, David Getz, was replaced with a triangular fire pit that's still in existence today.
The campfire was what they had a program every Wednesday night. They had a gypsy program around the campfire. And we had music outside. And they played gypsy music, and they learned these gypsy dances up in the dancing hall, up in the rec hall, and they did them around the campfire. And everybody, all of them brought a tambourine and a gypsy dress and lots of jewelry, and they'd all dress up down there, and some of them would dance around the campfire.
In the summer of 2014, my partner and I had the privilege of attending the 3rd annual reunion at the Gypsy Camp. This reunion takes place actually at the camp, and old campers get to come in and actually stay at the camp, and they put on a Vespers program on the Sunday, and they also hold a campfire program. So it's just really neat that they get to come here and just like relive the past like it happened yesterday. And that's one thing that we really saw at this reunion. When we talked to some of the campers there, it was just like they could tell a story like it just happened. Their Gypsy Camp experiences are so fresh in their mind, like they'll never forget them. And that's really like one thing that makes Gypsy Camp so unique, is just how much the camp means to the campers.
You know, I think every year the most memorable moment had to have been arriving and leaving, and then probably right, because when we came from Dallas, we came on a charter bus, and so there were already a lot of girls that were already here who lived close by or closer by, and so they would be here, and we would come in on the bus, and they would all be excited to see us, and we would all get off, and And then, of course, when we were leaving, it was, you know, parting with such sweet sorrow because we didn't know how long it would be before we knew it'd be a year if we came back the next year, which you never know if you're going to. And girls that you never saw except once a year up here.
We got the reds gathered over here, and we got the oranges gathered over here, and everybody's on pins and needles. Who's going to be the new reds? Who's going to be the new oranges? Do they look athletic? Do they look strong? Do they look intelligent? You know, are they going to be able to earn points and make our clan better?
I'm an orange. When she first came, she came 3 years after I started because she's 6 years younger than I am. She couldn't come, you know, she was too little. And when you draw your ribbon, it is a major thing if it's your sister. And so I was sitting there and she drew red. And I about died. I thought, no, this cannot be. And she thought that too at first. She thought, I'm a red. Took her about 10 minutes to be a hardcore, hard, fast red. And we've been like that ever since. It makes it kind of fun because we'll sing in the car and we'll sing the orange songs and the red songs, and she sings the red ones a little bit louder than she should, and I sing the orange ones a little bit louder than I should. No, it's been a fun rivalry. I'm glad it worked out that way. I really am.
And I know I wasn't the instigator, but I got in it. I believe our counselor was Judy Ross, and we were in Upper Gypsy, and a bunch of us decided, there was a movie out at that time, Haley Mills, The Parent Trap, and they had gone to camp, and they cleaned everything out of the cabin from this one girl and put it on the roof. Well, we took the bunk bed, her trunk, everything, and put it up in a tree.
I took a bunch over to Cincinnati Creek in the afternoon to play in the swift water over there. And when we left, the swimming counselor was up front with me, and she looked back and there wasn't any wagon on the back of the truck, and she said, well, where is the wagon? And I looked back and there wasn't any wagon, and we had come up some pretty steep places. And so she went back and we went back, and they had unhitched the wagon and they were all sitting on the wagon laughing. They thought that was really funny.
I remember that one girl bought a payday for her secret pal, and she laid it on, you sneak into somebody's cabin, you know, you lay it on their bed. Well, the secret pal didn't like paydays, so she thought, well, I'll give the payday to my secret pal. Well, they finally realized that they were each other's secret pal, and this poor payday was getting rattier and rattier as they kept passing it back and forth to each other.
Personally, my favorite activity here at Gypsy Camp for Girls was archery. I loved archery because I'd never done that before. It was something that I only did when I was at camp. And it was right here. We had a big hay wall with the targets on it, and we shot archery every day. And I'll never forget, I had an arrow go over the hay bale and hit a horse in the butt, and he ran out on the side with my arrow stuck in his bottom.
But just the overall feeling of sharing this experience with the kids, the little kids, for the first time. I had like 6 and 7-year-old kids, which I can't imagine that now, but it worked great back then. And just being able to show them and watch them with their wide eyes going, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And, you know, and comforting them when they would get kind of sad or miss their mama or something. But mostly it was just sharing everything with them and watching them grow and learn, you know, the rules of the camp and the different activities and the schedules, and they just blossomed here. And that was great.
I think probably my favorite memory is during the meal time in the dining hall. Each cabin sat at their own table, and then at the head table would be Bob, you know, Bob Coe, my dad, and Daisy, and whatever adults were around, you know, and I think just seeing them sitting there, and then all the campers, you know, sitting at their own tables, that was pretty cool. Everybody there at one time.
Gypsy Camp was up and running for nearly 60 years, and for that to happen, you know, there had to be somebody special behind the scenes running everything and making sure everything went smoothly and successfully. And for Gypsy Camp, those people were Bob and Daisy Coe. When we sat down with some of the campers and asked them about memories they had of Bob and Daisy, you could just tell how highly they thought of the two and respected them. And we also had the opportunity to sit down with Bob Coe and figure out exactly what his role in the camp was.
My role, I was just here. I kept everything going. Oh, I pulled, in the afternoon, they swam in the river, and I'd pull them on skis up and down the river. It was a lake out there then, when Lake Francis was in. This water was 300 feet across, and I pulled them on the skis all afternoon. That's one thing I did. And then I got the horses together in the morning to saddle them up. We had a boy that rode horseback with the girls on the trails, and I'd go up there and get the horses ready, feed them and saddle them and all, and he helped me do it. And just everything that needed to be done around here, I did it, yeah.
I was probably about 10 or 11, and we'd always have a rest period from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 where we were supposed to take a nap. But during that rest period, they would have life-saving classes. Well, my dad thought that I should take these life-saving classes up at the pool. Well, I didn't want to. I was at that age. No, I don't want to do that. So every rest period I would try and act like I had fallen asleep during rest period. So he would, I wouldn't show up for the class. He would come to the cabin. Where's Claudia? Where's Claudia? And she's got to go down to the life-saving class. And so sometimes they dragged me down there, and sometimes they really thought I was asleep, and maybe sometimes I was asleep. But it was almost kind of embarrassing that he came and dragged me out.
I'm so proud of my grandpa. He is a true Ozark mountain man, and this is the true Ozarks, and he has kept this running and has so much spirit and faith in the gypsy spirit and the gypsy lifestyle, and just being free is something that's been instilled in me since I was very young, and I do whatever I want. And I think that's what my grandpa would want, to make sure that he knew that he was putting into me, was that I could be whoever I wanted to be, and I am.
The girls all just loved Daisy. There's a picture over there. She was really a pretty girl. And she dressed up every day. She didn't go around in camp clothes. She dressed up like she was going to go to town.
I remember when I first met Daisy, she's such a beautiful, statuesque, beautiful person. And then the Bob was so handsome and so rugged, and together they just complemented one another so uniquely. And I knew that when I would be here with Daisy, I would be really well taken care of, and she always did take care of me, because I got a little homesick when I first came. And then through the years, she just became one of those people that was more, I always dealt with her with the utmost of respect. I was never too casual with her. I was always much more respectful. Bob, I was just always so respectful of Bob, because again, like you've heard other people share, he didn't say much, but you could tell in his face if he was happy or if he was angry with you or if he was frustrated with you. And you just knew to be on your best behavior around Bob. You didn't want to make him mad.
If he did get upset with us girls, oh my goodness, that man could yell. You could have heard him down to Lake Francis. So we just tried to be good. But he was harmless. He just had a big voice.
Bob was so quiet, it's unbelievable. He's quiet now, but back then he was even quieter. To see him smile back then, it just broke my heart. Not broke my heart, but just gave joy to my heart, because he was so quiet. He'd walk around the edges instead of coming through stuff. He always worked. He was always doing something. And he just completely left us alone, except that he would smile if we smiled at him. And that was just joyful. And Daisy was just Daisy. She worked hard. When she smiled too, it really is, because she would be busy doing something with a serious face and doing this with a serious face and doing. When she smiled, it was just wonderful.
Oh my goodness, there's just so many. I was thinking the other day about Bob and Daisy, and Daisy and Miss Etta, who was Bob's aunt. They gave the camp this real, I don't know, cozy, fuzzy, warm feeling. But with Bob, he gave safety. You knew that nothing was going to happen to you or anybody in this camp because Bob was here. He was a big, strong guy, and he took care of everything. He didn't talk a whole lot, and he didn't smile a whole lot, but you just knew that you were safe and he was going to take care of things.
Oh my, there's like a second set of parents. Well, they were our parents for the month out of the summer. If you had a problem, you could go talk to either one of them. If you were sick, you either went to Miss Etta or Mrs. Coe, or you went to Daisy. And they saw to it that if you needed to go to the doctor, they took you into town. If you needed eardrops, they took care of that. If you had a sore throat, you got your throat swabbed. You were taken care of. They made sure we ate. They made sure we exercised and and that we learned new things. They were just a second set of parents.
I just thought Bob was my dad away from home. Because I didn't have a daddy here, so I just felt like he was my daddy while I was here. They were just, I don't know, they were almost bigger than life. Like, to me, almost unapproachable. Like you observed them and you revered them from a distance.
When they would walk out of Royal Hut, their cabin, and you just went, there are those people. We knew at that time they were what were making us able to be here at all. And when she would come down, so beautiful and so loving and so wonderful. It was always when I would always spot her walking out of the cabin for some reason, just coming down the hill. So it wasn't necessarily dealing with her, it was knowing. There's Daisy, this beautiful queen, yeah. Bob, it's everything. All the stuff he did so quietly. It was the quiet, and yet everything that happened. I already knew how to appreciate that it takes somebody, from my father, that it takes somebody who's in the background to make things happen, or else it doesn't happen. And I knew him, that was from the very beginning, that I knew he was making the stuff happen.
He and I had a real fun time with me skiing behind the boat. And we would ski for hours. He would just take me up and down the river. And the river is not a lake, so it's very narrow. And so you would, just ski down, and then he'd have to slow down to turn. And then as he would slow down to turn, my goal was to not have to fall down, but just to keep hanging onto the rope as he made the turn and come back. And he had these 2 red skis, and they're the ones that are over there tied to the post. Those are the skis that I skied on, but I would slalom ski, so I would always do 1 round on 2 skis and then drop the 1 ski and just ski on the 1 ski. And he always liked that, that I could do that. And we would take the ski rope, and there was a dock out there, and he would have me go on one side of the dock and him on the other with the rope, kind of as our trick kind of thing. And so favorite memory with Bob was skiing behind the boat, and that was something I really looked forward to, and we laughed a lot, and it was fun.
Last Father's Day, 4 weeks ago, I called him on the day before Father's Day and said, "It's Kay, and I just wanted to wish you Happy Father's Day from your summer daughters." And, he means so much to us. And my dad died when I was in 4th grade. So he was a substitute dad in the summer.
There is a boy at Gypsy our dear Bucko. You are such a good friend, taught us how to ride and row. Counselors adore you, campers think you're king. Everybody loves you, for you are our Gypsy King.
As you can tell, like in their stories, at the mention of Gypsy Camp, you can just see it in their face that they light up just with such excitement. And it's so apparent just like how much they learned from it too.
I have always told people that my time at Gypsy Camp is why I am who I am. And I think probably everybody who does an interview with you, see, now I'm going to tear up. It in large part made me who I am, because it taught me teamwork, it gave me dear friends, it reinforced my love of the outdoors, it taught me all sorts of sports that I would not have been able to do growing up in Mississippi County. And lots of the craft stuff, I still use this stuff every day. It's just amazing. And I think I can do anything. As I said before, there's nothing that I don't think I can learn to do. And I think that stems directly from 2 months every summer at Gypsy, during which time we really were expected to try and learn how to accomplish things.
Coming here, no matter whether it's a reunion or not, I find an inner peace being here, and sharing the experiences we had as children, to see if everybody else remembers the same things I did and has the same feeling when they turn on 59 South to come here, if everybody still gets the butterflies in their stomach, and still it's like you can't get there fast enough, but you can't drive any faster because the roads are curvy. But it's like, and you get top that hill and you see the bridge and you're there, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm finally here. I made it. It's really here. And it's just fun to share what we had as children again. And we all know we're not children, we can't go back, and I don't really know that any of us would want to go back. But it's reliving those life experiences that helped shape us into the women we became.
I'm a teacher, and the number of things in my teaching that I patterned after, or just without knowing it, did the way we did it at Gypsy Camp to help young students, because it was the funnest way to do stuff. And that's one of the things I remember most. It made me a better teacher. That's one of the things I took. Every principle, every kind of growing up principle and development principle, now that I'm a teacher, didn't know it at the time, but we were getting them in such a heightened emotional experience that it gets in better, and the most fun of your life. The most fun of your life, you know. And we've all done some fabulous things, but as a child, I think about all those principles, the teamwork, how to be a good person, how to help somebody. Name a principle of what we hope a good human will do. It was worked on here. There was an area to practice it and learn it here.
You know, when we came to Gypsy Camp, it was during those formative years of your life, when you're a teenager and you're finding out who you are and developing the kind of person that you're going to be. And so being here with the girls that were here really taught me how to, to be myself. Because when you're here, nobody cared if your family had money or didn't have money, or they didn't care anything about you except who you were. So you really started to develop the character and became the woman that you would be eventually. And I don't know how to make that more specific than that.
When I was queen of the Orange Clan, I think, you know, I was kind of looked upon as the person to really motivate and engage the rest of the clan to make their points. And it's so funny because that's what I do in my professional business right now. I mean, that has carried me through into my life today. I'm a fundraiser. I've been in the world of nonprofit for many, many years. I was with Susan G. Komen for the Cure for over 20 years, and I did all the branding, marketing, and public relations for that organization. And the majority of what I had to do was try and persuade and to motivate our volunteers to get involved and raise money. And it was very much like the point system. You know, you got involved, you raised money, whoever did the best, you know, got an incentive and was rewarded for that at our national conferences. And I will tell you, I mean, it brought me back to my days at Gypsy Camp.
They started having reunions, and my wife came to the last two of those. She passed away this past October, and they were nice enough to invite me to come by to this reunion. My wife was shaped at a very early age by her experiences here at Gypsy Camp, both as a camper, learning to get along with other people, and then as a counselor for a number of years, learning how to mentor and care for and administer young girls. So I've always said that Gypsy Camp rubbed off on her in ways that were sometimes maybe hard to explain. But I came back, I told my kids I was coming, and they said, "Dad, you don't know any of those women." And I said, "Well, I do know one of them pretty well, and I know an important thing about all of them, and that's that they all came to Gypsy Camp and they all love Gypsy Camp. And that like Gypsy Camp rubbed off on my wife, I came with some feeling that maybe some of her rubbed off on this place, and I would be in just kind of loose connection with her by being in this place that was so important to her."
I think we all get those good things from our family and from whatever groups we're in and stuff. But it's family first, and this was second for me. It wasn't school. It wasn't some group I was involved in. It wasn't church, sorry. It was Gypsy Camp. This was my second home and family. Bob and Daisy raised me as much as my, you know, just second to my parents and stuff and family. And I'd say that was the number one thing. Anything good I have comes from my parents and Gypsy Camp.
I think that you can get a group of people together, a group of girls together, you know, in many, many other parts of the country. But this is such a unique setting, the cabins and the stone, and that it's just up in this holler like this, and the bluffs and the river right here. It's so, here we come back all these years later, and it looks just like it did. It's like it's frozen in time, and it's very unique. I mean, I don't know if there's another camp that looks just like this. You know, there's buildings that might look similar, but I guess what I would want people to take away from it is that you certainly don't have to have all the bells and whistles and electricity and electronic devices and all those things to come and have fun. And it could happen again today.
I wish that the world hadn't changed so much that we can't have many, many more camps like this for young people. There's still camps, but they're a different kind. There are even still some theme camps, but we need just to, if we could just have it back where you walk away from the city, walk away from all of that, and come out and be yourself and find yourself. The self-discovery was amazing. It was just tremendous.
This camp really just helped to shape all these women who they are today. It's so apparent just like how much the camp impacted them, and especially Bob and Daisy. And their stories, you can tell just like at the mention of Gypsy Camp, they just get so excited and they light up in their faces. And so at the end of the Gypsy Camp reunion, we asked the campers to describe Gypsy Camp in one word or phrase. And in their responses, you can just tell that it was something so much more to them than just a camp.
Could I just call Gypsy Camp my fondest childhood memory? Absolutely. Like I said, it's just a little piece of heaven on earth.
Do I have 30 or 40 minutes? It's a perfect place.
In one word or phrase. It taught us unity with other people.
To me, Gypsy Camp was and is an incredibly nurturing and empowering experience for a bunch of girls.
Magical. It is absolutely magical. You come down that lane and your everyday life goes away. No matter what stress you're under, what pressure you have, what problems lurking in the background, it's gone for the time you're here.
One word to sum up Gypsy Camp. Forever. I mean, it's just, to me, it's forever. It's once it's in your blood, it's forever. It's in your mind, you can't get it out. It's in your blood, you can't get it out. I mean, you just can't.
Life defining. It really was. It is that big a chunk of my behavior, my view of things, how I worked, how I, live. Life defining.
One word. I think the one word I would use to describe all of Gypsy Camp would be love. A deep, deep love.
There's some beautiful things you can do in your life, and guess what? They don't get repeated that often. They really don't. This one is so special, and it can't be repeated. When we used to come out here, Pam and I, when we were, like 30 years old, you get the exact same sense, but the minute you leave, it's gone. It takes being here and looking up at the cabins and walking around and sitting here by fire and talking to get any kind of sense of it. It's just magnificent, just wonderful.
I'll be coming next year to Camp Gypsy. All the girls are kind and friendly. It's fun for me. Where the Illinois won. And I'm so free. I'll be happy. Lots of fun at Camp Gypsy. At Camp Gypsy. The call of the fire comes to us through the shadows that fall at the close of the day. Its flame brings us peace and the calmness of spirit that drives all our troubles away. We're thankful for days and the joys that they bring us, for nights and the rest that they bring. May we go on believing in this love we're receiving just now round the fire as we sing. Each campfire lights anew the flame of friendship true, the joy we've had in knowing you will last our whole life through. And as the embers fade away, we wish that we might ever stay. But since we cannot have our way, we'll come again some other day. Gypsy camp, Gypsy camp, nestled in the Ozarks blue. Gypsy camp, Gypsy camp, just a place for me and you. There is so much to be said for the orange and the red. Up at 7 and 9 in bed at Gypsy camp. Mm-hmm.